get my 6. What's up, everybody? Happy New Year. Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid, and whatever the hell this channel is about. Today, it's about a yuppie and a hillbilly walk into a bar, okay? Together, yeah. Yeah, you're like, what would a hillbilly and a yuppie be doing hanging out together? Well, it's kind of a true story. It's about me and one of my probably longest, oldest friends since childhood. But first, it occurred to me last night, I forgot to finish the story I was telling yesterday, so I'm going to go back and do that real quick, then tell you this thing about the hillbilly and the yuppie. I was talking about the typhoon that I think it was called Yolanda. And I want to talk about this book too. Who recognizes this guy? So it was in the Philippines about a year before we left to come to the U.S. It killed like 10,000 people on our island that we lived on. And I mentioned how in the middle of the night, my wife's little brother, Abel, who stayed with us, came in and like woke us up, flipped on the lights. And I got sidetracked because I was talking about how I was cussing and visaying and whatever, being foul-mouthed and vulgar. That was odd. I could sense something here, but I don't see anything. That's why you got to get my 6. What that means is watch behind me. You never know what may or may not show up back there. So anyway, here was the point of the story. He flips on the lights. He's panicking. He's like, the house is flooding. The house is flooding. Well, there was no water in our bedroom. So I get up, I look in the living room, and it's like our living room had become a lake. The water was coming so forcefully downhill. We lived at the bottom of a hill. It had actually pushed the back door open. And so it was like a river was coming through our back door. And Abel, his name's Avelino. We call him Abel or Abel. So what do we do? What do we do? And I was, hillbilly ingenuity here. I'm thinking, well, I guess if it's coming in the back door, just open the front door and let it go out the front door. And he did that. He opened the front door. He propped it open with a chair or something. And he says, "Halaka," which is common in the Philippines when people are surprised. And he's surprised that it worked. And so for about a day and a half, we basically had a river going through our house, coming in the back door, going out the front door. We got the kitchen, the dining area, and the living room. Didn't touch the rest of the rooms. And we made a bridge out of a couch. Again, hillbilly ingenuity. I was like, well, let's just move the couch and we can jump on the couch and walk across the couch to get to the kitchen. And it all worked out. So there, I finished that story because a lot of you were probably like, oh, no, that's not, I'm not imitating what you were, this is strange. There's like a very strange mist that just appeared from out of nowhere in my front field. I'm not making this stuff up. There's something going on around here today. It's like Happy New Year to me and all the weird stuff. I don't know if the phone will pick it up. Man, it's like, here we are into a new year, but there's just still the same old strange goings on or whatever. Strange phenomena. All right, turn this back. I'm over here. You keep looking back there. I'll tell you, something is with me, but I don't think it's human. All right. So anyway, with that said, I want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to so far at least 14 people. You remember yesterday I talked about Dearly's aunt and uncle's house having been destroyed in the typhoon Odette just a couple weeks ago, and I showed you the heart-wrenching footage of that. And I told you, but it's going to cost about $1,500 for them to replace that house. Again, this is third world. Stuff is much less expensive, so you actually can build a house for $1,500 in less than 24 hours. And I told you, don't send money you can't afford to send. If nobody sent anything, it would have been great. We're not like those people that make me want to kind of throw up my mouth a little bit every time I get around them and hear their pretentiousness. Many of you mentioned you were sending thoughts and prayers because you couldn't send money. Thank you for your thoughts and prayers. That means something to us, okay? So anyway, in less than 24 hours, the money's been raised. I was going to top it off. Like I said, if you guys sent 500, I'll add 1,000, top it off. But this house was going to be built. In less than 24 hours, 14 complete strangers took care of this situation. And my beautiful bride, dearly, AKA Giggly Girl, is actually got like a FaceTime video conference scheduled with her aunt tonight at 8 o'clock, and her aunt is going to find out. She has no clue we were doing this. So, big thank you to everybody. Carolyn Horn, Anna Martinez, Elizabeth Blissett, I believe it's pronounced, Caprina Fernandez, Lisa Griffiths, Georgia Fike, Benny Chadwick, Robert Thompson, Victoria Rhodes, Linda Stadel, it looks like, Evie Ann Strand, NJM Services, Beverly Person, and very special, listen, whether you sent a little or whether you sent a lot, it is all appreciated. We hit what we needed, but I want to give a very special shout out and a big thank you to 3-star General Jim Stump. Did you know, by the way, if you were never in the military, 3-star General is the highest you can be unless you're at a time of war, and then they will appoint a 4-star who is the Supreme Allied Commander. That's what Eisenhower was. Guys, that fog is getting thicker down there. As you can see, it's been the first sunny day in several days. This is just really odd. See if we can pick it up. There's like a mist. There it is. You can see it. See this? It's like almost as if something is trying to form here. This is really strange. Okay. New year, same strange phenomena. It's crazy. Jim Stump. Saw your comment. He said if I was going to match his dimes, he would send all of his dimes. Jim, you sent a lot of dimes, and when my wife saw how many dimes you sent, she cried. She couldn't believe, and as well as the other 13 of you who sent what you sent, my wife could not believe that 14 people that she's never met and that she'll never meet were kind enough to make the building of a new home, again, for her aunt and uncle, their home having been destroyed by Odette, would make this possible. This is proof that most people are good. There's more good in the world than there is bad. We appreciate you so much. General Stump, it's a lot of dimes. I don't know where you were keeping them. So anyway, I clearly heard a tree knock. There's some weird stuff. I heard another one. There's some really strange stuff going on here today. Oh, that's just a motorcycle down there on that 4-lane highway in front of my house. Okay, I really want to, I told Dearly today, I need to start copying and pasting some of the comments people leave, like before I ban them. Before I pray for them and ban them, because some of them are hilarious. One was so funny today, I left it. I usually just get rid of people who try to bash other people for political beliefs, especially because we're not political, and we're tired of the divide. You know, the vaxxers versus anti-vaxxers and all that. Be like these. I mean, I'm not saying, you know, send money and blah, blah, blah. What I'm saying is, let's focus on okay, I need to get on with the story because something strange is coming this way. What was that Ray Bradbury book? Turned it into a movie. It was okay. That's hard to find online. It must be a copyright issue. Something Wicked This Way Comes. That was a great novel. Decent movie too. That fog is coming up the hill after me. Check this out. I'm serious. Look, I'm just turning the phone. I'm not editing anything. That strange mist has made its way here to the bottom of the trail. It's coming up the trail. This is odd. Okay. So a hillbilly and a yuppie walk into a bar. Oh, this comment. I left it because it was hilarious. I was talking about hard work, and I guess sometimes I take some digs at yuppies. They're not bad people. I just don't really, they're just kind of... Okay, what she said is, because I was bashing them for, like, lack of work ethic, like, thinking they're, you know, they're, like, above, a lot of, not all, just there's a lot, like the intellectual elitist leftist types who feel as if they're just above getting their hands dirty or, you know, any sort of labor position that might cause one to perspire, etc. So it's better to just sit around on all that dignity than actually go out there and work. She said, what was it she said? I wish I could remember her name. I'd give her a shout out. She said, oh, now come on. Not all liberal, intellectual, leftist elitists, or whatever she said, term she used, look down on hard work. Some of them find it quaint, and it gives them something to talk about while sitting around in their living rooms with their liberal arts degrees, discussing the pros and cons, pros versus cons in regard to whether they should be a vegan or a vegetarian. And I laugh so hard. That's funny. And no offense to vegans or vegetarians. Of course, I just, you know, hey, just don't tell me meat's murder, because what about all those fruits and vegetables you're killing, brah? So, a yuppie, this made me think of that, and a hillbilly walk into a bar, right? What was this George Foreman book about? I just started reading it today. I got it a couple weeks ago, but it's been sitting on the pile. But I finally read down through the pile to where it was next. And I heard Tyson Fury talking about it in an interview. He was talking about something he read in George Foreman's autobiography. I'm like, oh, I didn't know Big George wrote one of those. I gotta get that. And I'm about 2 chapters in, just started today. I'll tell you about it. I'll do a review when I'm finished with it. But the passing of Betty White has inspired me to do something unique. And it's one of my goals for 2022. Now I'm going to finish this, of course, in just a couple of days. It's a pretty easy read. See, it's not small print. It's, you know, and George has a nice writing style. It's smooth and it flows. It sounds like he's talking to you. So I love books like that. I think it's terrible when everybody kind of like takes everybody for granted until they die, and then they'll go on and on about how great they were and how the world misses them and the world's mourning. What if we let these people know how important they were to us while they were still among the living? And there's a lot of people out there, you just can't let everybody know, I guess, what they mean to you. But I thought, you know, this man is still alive. This guy is truly a living legend. Joe Frazier from his era's dead. Muhammad Ali, as you know, died. Lived down the road from us here in his final years. George isn't going to be here forever. None of us are. And I got this idea. I said, man, you know, I'm going to go to Texas and meet George Foreman this year. And I told my wife, and I told, you know, some other folks, and they know I'm crazy. They don't think I'm crazy. I mean, they know me. And my wife says, well, how are we going to do that? And I'm like, well, I think he's still a preacher. I'm going to have to do a lot of research here. And I'm not stalking you, George. If you ever see this video, I'm not like a creepy stalker. But I figure, well, if he's still preaching, we'll find his church and go sit through a service. And maybe afterwards we can just walk through the line and shake his hand and say, thank you. It was an honor to meet you, and just leave it at that. You know, not going to harass the guy. But listen, he's got a YouTube channel, and, I think he's got like 36,000 subscribers. That's terrible. Don't wait until the man dies to go over there and jump on his page and, you know, blow him up. Whatever. I don't want to give you too many spoilers, but he quit school in junior high. He had severe anger issues. He was a troublemaker in his youth. Let me tell you, you talk about, spirituality changing somebody's heart, and I haven't gotten there yet. I might be assuming something. I don't want to, you know, do that. I make an ass out of you and the people sitting beside you. That's, you know, okay, and me too. But whatever. All right, so there really is no bar joke about a hillbilly and a yuppie going into a bar. Though me and my yuppie friend in our youth spent a lot of time going into bars. But here, this is what's going on. Okay, so my man, Happy New Year, Jonathan. Okay, he told me yesterday to give him a shout out in the video, but I'd already made it, and I said too late, so I said I would today. So I'm very proud of him. He's just done something really neat. He's just had a brand new house built, and it's on about an acre, and he lives down in North Carolina. He's several hours away from me. I don't want to give too much away about this guy, but we grew up together. He built a brand new house, beautiful house. He sent me the pictures, and I can't wait to see it. So he wants some trees. He's been here. He came here and visited me here just a few months ago, as well as several other friends and family members that I've reconnected with after being apart for far too long because of a very false narrative. Not even going back into that. Leaving that back in 2021. So he wants some trees. And so I'm sending him pictures of like Eastern redbuds, beautiful trees. You've seen them. And he's like, I got one tree I got to have cut down. I got to have it removed. He goes, gosh, that's expensive. And I know, I've had some of them priced around here, a couple that might fall in the back of the house. And I said, well, where is it? And it's on the far side of his property, not even close to the house. I'm like, dude, I'll bring, some chainsaws down and we'll cut it down. And he's like, dude, I don't know how to cut down a tree. And I'm like, oh, that's right. He's a yuppie. Now, he's not, but he's a good guy. He's a good yuppie. He's not full of himself. He doesn't, comes from a wonderful family. I'm friends with a lot of his family, but the demographics between us are quite opposite. Not only am I first generation college grad, I'm first generation high school grad. This guy comes from generational education. I could say generational wealth on both sides. A lot of social connections, but he's kind of the black sheep of his family. And that's what I love about him. He's so real. And his family members, I know, they're very real too. But let me tell you, this guy puts on no airs under any circumstances or situations. It's really, if you didn't know he was a yuppie, you wouldn't know he's a yuppie. But he's kind of a yuppie. So he doesn't know how to cut down a tree with a chainsaw and all this stuff. He's never done it. I'm like, dude, whatever, I'll do it for you. Or I can show you how to do it. I've taken down 3 sizable trees here. We had a dead locust out back. It was about 60 feet high. It wasn't close enough to the house, so I cut it down. Cut down a dead poplar that was about 25 feet tall in front of the house. So he's like, dude, you can't cut down a tree in my yard. I'm like, why? He goes, what if it hits a house? I'm like, how far away is it from the house? He's like, oh, I don't know, a couple 100 yards. And I'm like, and how tall? Is this tree like 200 yards tall? He's like, well, no, but anything can happen. That's one of these things about, not all yuppies, but so many. It's like they live in constant fear of these worst case scenario things that could happen. He's going on and on about how, what if the wind picks up? We just had these terrible tornadoes. What if just as you cut that tree and it falls, the wind picks up and lifts it and it puts it on my house, man? I just had my new house built. I don't want it ruined. I'm like, dude, that's just not going to happen. That's not possible. So I get him, convinced. I can cut this tree down and it's not going to hit his house because it's nowhere close to his house. I've known of other yuppies who have lost sleep over stuff like this, just terrified that that one tree out there is going to fall this one way that it would be like so unlikely to ever fall unless if like the earth burped. It's the only way it's going to happen. Whatever. I don't live in fear, man. I mean, I know you got to be safe about everything you do. You don't want to get hurt or hurt your property and stuff, but man, come on. Okay. So he goes, okay, but man, I don't think I can let you cut this tree down on my property. And I'm like, why? After I'd convinced him, the earth won't burp. It's not going to, tornado's not going to come carry the tree. He's like, well, are you insured and bonded to do that? I'm like, oh my God, here we go. I'm like, no, dude, I am not insured and bonded to cut down trees. Man, that fog. Gotta check this out. Look at that. It's coming for me. It made its way up to the trail, but now it's shifting over to the meadow and it's trying to sneak up from behind me, behind this wood pile. I've had odd things try to sneak up behind me, behind wood piles. You guys have seen some of that. That's my breath. I thought it was here with me. What a beautiful sunset. All right. So he's like, and I really want to help the guy out. He's a great guy, and his health has gone downhill a little bit here in the last few years. And I'm like, look, I got an idea. He goes, what? And I said, how how about this? How about, since I'm not insured, I don't have insurance, you know, for cutting down your tree. How about I pay you a penalty for not having insurance? I'll cut down your tree, but then I'll pay you like the uninsured penalty thing that one guy several years back came up with to penalize people that couldn't afford health insurance. Then they got to pay a penalty for not being able to afford health insurance. And I'm joking, right? I think it's going to make him laugh, but, you know, he is a yuppie. You know, man, the premiums people pay to overinsure everything is like, dude, whatever. He's like, okay, that'll work. And I'm like, haha, yeah, huh. He wasn't laughing. He's like, no, he says, that makes sense to me, the way my mind works. You cut down this tree, you do this, you know, this thing that's dangerous, but since you're not insured and bonded, yeah, you just pay me like a penalty for not having tree cutter down or insurance, and we can make this work. So I just don't know how much to pay him. I mean, I don't know how much he wants. I never understood that. It's crazy. And I told this story when this happened, and of course I got blasted by probably a bunch of yuppies here on the channel, but I'll tell it again. Our first year here, we didn't have health insurance. My son needed oral surgery. He had some teeth that were bad, needed to be removed. It cost $2,250. I paid for it with money that I earn out of income. The next week, of course, I got a notice from the IRS that I owed them $1,750 in the uninsured penalty. So I called them, and I was like, what's this all about? Because remember, I was out of the country for like 6 or 8 years. And they said, well, you know, this is, I forget what they called it, something Affordable Care Act. Well, that $1,750 penalty wasn't very affordable. But they said, since you don't have insurance and you're a burden on society, you have to pay this every tax time. I said, how am I a burden on society for not having health insurance? They said, well, you got a family? And I was like, yeah, I got a wife and a kid. Okay. They said, okay, well, when your wife and kid needs medical assistance, you don't have insurance, nothing's free. Who do you think pays for that? And I said, well, I pay for it. They said, what do you mean you pay for it? You don't have insurance. I said, I know. And I explained about the oral surgery, $2,250. And earlier in the year, my wife had gotten poison ivy for the first time ever. And we had to take her to the doctor, and she got some injections. I can't even remember what it was, but it was a couple $100. I just paid it, brah. And the woman was like, oh, that's weird. You actually met your financial obligation in regard to your healthcare costs. I'm like, yeah, it's like, it's my kid, it's my wife. Why should the guy that lives down the road from me have to pay for their healthcare costs? And with that in mind, why should I have to pay a $1,750 penalty for being a burden on society when I'm actually carrying my own weight? And she's like, wow, yeah. She's like, well, you're just one of those people that got screwed. I'm like, okay, so what about this money? Can you like say I don't owe it? And she's like, sir, I can't do that. Well, of course I paid it. Listen, if you owe the IRS money, you got no options. You got no choices. They will shut your bank account down and they'll lock up everything. It's just how it goes. So I paid it. I just have no idea what sort of uninsured penalty my longest, oldest, bestest buddy expects me to pay so I can come down there and cut that dead tree down for him. Well, gives me something to think about, and I guess we'll figure it out. So hope y'all enjoyed this video and whatever the hell it was about. I think it was about several things. I'm going to go down there and eat dinner with my family and read some more of By George. Bye, George. See you next time. How did you get here?